What's up everybody, Alf here with another Master League video here on YouTube. Today we're going to be doing talking about something that I know is on a lot of your minds. We'll be talking about Master League on a budget once again. We're going to be talking about some Pokemon that maybe you don't need to take all the way to level 40 for them to do what they need to do in Master League. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about why that's the case. I'm going to give you some rules of thumb to make your own decisions about maybe some different Pokemon and whether or not you want to invest in them. And lastly, I'll be showing off a team that I think is maybe your best bet if you maybe want to spend a little less Stardust and take your Pokemon only to level 35. So if you're enjoying the content on our channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us grow the channel and catch us streaming every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Twitch. All right, without further ado, here are things. So the first thing we got to cover is why is this even possible? And this is probably something that you've noticed, which is that as you power up Pokemon, it costs more. The Stardust cost goes up, the candy cost goes up. What you may not have noticed, unless you've taken a lot of Pokemon to level 40, is that you also start to see diminishing returns in the CP number up at the top. Every level you take ends up sort of powering up a little bit less. That's not exactly true. There's actually drop-off points pretty specifically at level 30 and level 35. It's why if you did a lot of raiding back in the day, you may have only powered up Pokemon to those levels. Now, what this means for us here is just like raiding, there's very little incentive sometimes to take your Pokemon all the way to level 40. To give you an example, if you have a Dialga at level 35, the only real measurable difference that you're going to see on the surface is that it has 6 less HP than a level 40 Dialga. Yes, its attack is lower. Yes, its defense is lower. But in a lot of matchups where there are no break or bulk points, you're never going to notice those differences. That 6 HP is something you will notice a little bit, and to get it to level 40 from level 35 is going to cost you 108 candy and 80,000 Stardust. That is basically the cost of a second move. So you may want to consider, for some Pokemon, especially the legendaries, that a level 35 version of that Pokemon with a second move may actually perform better than a level 40 with the single move. So do keep that in mind. So there's 3 pretty simple rules when looking to find Pokemon that might be able to perform in the Master League when under leveled. So why don't we go over those real quick. The first one is that if charge moves are your primary source of damage, you can generally get away with those offensive and defensive breakpoints not being as relevant. A Pokemon like Melmetal, who essentially does only damage through Superpower and Rock Slide, really isn't hurt that much by the breakpoints and bulk points missed, and does pretty much the same. The only common matchup a Melmetal loses at level 35 is actually Snorlax. Everything else it performs nearly identically. The second is Pokemon who are unlikely to encounter mirror matches. One of the easiest matchups you lose in many cases is the mirror. You have less HP, you do a little less damage, you're going to lose those a lot. A Dialga, for example, is a bad example of a Pokemon you want to play at level 35. It gets bodied in the mirror. Kyogre, not something that's seen everywhere in the meta, but still does very, very well even at level 35. Last is Pokemon that do something very specific. And I've highlighted Machamp here because Machamp's job is to beat up on the steals, and it can do that very, very well even with a little bit less power. It's well positioned to do that regardless of what level it is. And while you suffer in a number of its more neutral matchups, you do great in all the matchups you're supposed to, which is really the whole reason it's on the team in your first place. As you guessed from my previous slide, the team that I recommend, well, some of the team I recommend, I've got another pick here for you. Kyogre and Machamp. These 2 Pokemon essentially do not lose any matchups between level 35 and 40. They perform almost identically in all of their neutral one-shield matchups. They still have some issues when it comes to where they place in the meta, but both of them do a reasonably good job beating everything they do. Machamp actually does lose one matchup. It no longer beats Gyarados in the one-shield, which I'm sure you're seeing lots of. The other Pokemon I recommend, which I haven't shown off yet, is actually Dragonite. Dragonite also does not lose any matchups that it normally would win in the one shield. All of these Pokemon will suffer from having slightly less bulk than they normally do. Dragonite especially will do a little bit worse in the Dialga mirror, but it's never actually winning that matchup anyway. But these 3 Pokemon at level 35 are going to perform almost identically to how they do at level 40. So if you're looking for a team to try without maybe spending as much candy or dust, these can absolutely do it. Melmetal, another choice, which I had highlighted on a previous slide, that does pretty well, as does Metagross, who really, both of those Pokemon, I believe, lose their Snorlax matchups a little bit harder, and both of them struggle a little bit against Rhyperior because of the debuffs. But that's the team. I highly recommend giving it a try. You may even have these Pokemon already at level 35 for raid reasons, so give it a whirl. It's certainly going to change the way you play a little bit, but you may be able to actually enjoy the Master League a little bit with these Pokemon.